All right, everybody, welcome out to the Locker Room Guys Craft Beer Show. It is Tuesday. Pardon me. Tuesday. That'll do. It's always February, so that's what my voice sounds like. Tuesday, February 18th, 2025. Jersey Johnny coming at you with me, as always, is none of the Mr. Beer Samurai. Say hello, Mr. Samurai.
To quote Pete Carroll. Joke.
Yeah, well, I wasn't choking.
No, you're choking on something. You just
I was choking on my own voice.
You weren't choking on a field goal.
I wasn't choking on a field goal. I wasn't choking on not letting the best running back in the league that year run the ball for a yard and throwing the ball and having it intercepted.
That's another choke. Yeah. He served him right for being classy.
That's 10 years old. That's 10 years. It's over 10 years ago now that happened. And everybody's still, not everybody, but I'm still talking about it. So
you talk about every single aspect of sports every single day, almost every second.
And there's a problem with
that? For those of us who don't live, breathe, eat shit sports.
I don't eat, sleep, breathe shit sports, as you say. Just it's there. It's around. Anyway.
It's around.
Well, this week especially because we got the show tomorrow night too. So.
Oh yeah. You do have your sports show tomorrow, but we also have our cocktail show.
We have a cocktail show tomorrow too. But tonight we have a very
very
something we've been looking forward to for quite some time now.
Yes, we have.
Has been the reason for our looking forward to it. Our guest has been looking forward to it too, but I think he was looking forward to the thing that we're going to talk about, not so much our show.
Not so much our show. But anyway. Well, us and there's some of our dedicated viewers that look forward to it just because it gives us reason to drink on a Tuesday.
Well, that's another reason to look forward to the show, right? But before we get to it, though, I'd like to say, since it was kind of chilly today, happy National Hate Florida Day.
Yes. So I don't remember what year this was. It's probably about 4 or 5 years ago. There was that time where like the whole map of the United States was like in blue,
right?
Blue shades of blue, because it was like 40 or below across the whole United States, except for Florida, which was in the 80s. And it was the day that Florida just decided to not participate in winter.
Right. They just didn't want to participate. Well, I will tell you, though, yesterday was cold in Jersey, and I was on the phone with a friend of mine from Florida, and he said it was, and he said it was 80 something. It wasn't 80, it was 80 something. It was 84, 88, it was in the 80s. It was a very nice day.
They've had some days though this year where they got down to I think into the 40s.
Yeah, no, they've been cold.
That's as they call it, iguana dropping weather.
Right, exactly. So it's also Thumb Appreciation Day. So
I'll give that a big thumbs up.
Or as many pictures say.
Yeah, all of yours. And the thing is, the great thing about the thumb is ours are opposable.
They are,
and that allows us to open beer.
That does allow us to open beer. So before we open the beer, though.
Before we open the beer,
let's
opening beer.
That's very good. That's what you did there. That was very smart. Let's get our guest on, and then we can have the beer. Please welcome to the show. We've been looking forward to it. Mr. Marty Nachel. Marty, how are you, sir?
Appreciating my thumbs right now.
There you go. Marty, the founder and president of the American Craft Beer Hall of Fame, as well as many other things. Author, beer judge. We've talked about that before on the show. We will talk about it at some point tonight, I'm sure. But the main purpose for this show is to talk about the hall. And you are wearing your hall shirt.
That's very sharp. It's very sharp. Do you have merchandising on the website?
Well, it's our intent to get around to that this year.
Nice.
We're looking at third-party fulfillment. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a couple that have been used before. I can.
What you need?
Get you involved? Yeah, I'll give it send it your way.
What you need to do, Marty, is you need to do it like a concert tee, where instead of the towns listed on the back, it's the inductees listed on the back.
Ooh.
That would be that. I think that'd be cool.
Very smart idea there, Mr. Samurai.
That'd be a cool one.
There you go. You can have the concert tee for the inductees for that year.
Yeah, for all of his fanboys.
That's actually pretty cool.
I like that idea. That's very good. All right.
So
there you go. I know all it'll cost you for that idea from Dave is just to come back on the show every now and then.
Yeah. Definitely.
Not even a shirt. We'll buy them.
Absolutely. No, just come back next year with the next batch. But before we get to the next batch, we should talk about this year's
We should
really,
definitely
really should. This was the inaugural class, and I watched the inauguration show, not live, mind you. I forget what I was doing, but
I caught the end of it live because I forgot it was coming on at 3, and I was driving back, and I got home and I was like, boom, I'll put it on, and so I watched. Then so I went back and watched the whole thing again afterwards. So
I forget where I was.
watched the replay. It was like about 40 minutes, right?
36 minutes and
Some odd seconds.
But after seeing the list, it's like, wow, that's an impressive list.
Fantastic, absolutely. So we got one comment so far, just 2 actually from one person. Rod J.
It's just rad.
It's just
cheers, guys. And he said, "Good to see you, Marty." There you go.
Good to see you also.
It's just Rod. There you go. Anyway, all right. Well, we got a lot to talk about. We want to talk about everything that happened on Saturday. We want to talk about because you live streamed the event from several breweries across the country, which was amazing.
That was cool.
Some of the people that were on there. I mean, you had Sam on, you had Mitch on. So we'll talk about all of that as well. And we're going to start with let's. How do you want to do this, Dave? You want to open up the beer and then talk about that, or because you're thirsty, or you want to just mention the first person and then go on?
Well, let's let Marty talk about the first person that was inaugurated, and then we'll open our beer.
There you go.
Because otherwise, we're giving it away.
This is true. So have at it, Marty.
All right, just jump in.
Just jump in. I mean, we'll talk about some other stuff afterwards, but for this particular point, we'll pop through and we'll talk about one, and then we'll talk about some other aspects, and then we'll mention another one. We'll talk about some aspects, and we'll go through it like that instead of just giving a laundry list, right?
Right.
So Rod just said, "Just to me," he said.
just to me.
Just to me. Yeah, there you go. So have at it. So mention the first one. Let's talk about the first inductee into the inaugural class.
Before I do that, I just want to
set up whatever you need to. Yeah.
This is just the order that we presented them. Yep. It's not alphabetical. It's not by any kind of status. It's any importance. It's just the way we did it.
Sure.
Because, as you mentioned, we were doing it from different time zones. Mm-hmm. We were kind of trying to match the people who were being inducted with the people who were doing the inducting.
Right.
And not all of them matched, of course. Five breweries and 12 people and being inducted.
Exactly.
So this is just, somewhat random, but our first inductee was Fritz Maytag.
There you go.
And with that said, there we go. Open the bottle.
There you go.
We can open the bottle. Well, yeah, you couldn't have matched everything up because it was pretty West Coast heavy, wasn't it, Marty?
For the most part, yeah.
Well, considering the real, powerhouses of the craft beer movement, most of them were on the West Coast to begin with. So it made a lot of sense when I saw those names. Like, yep. Okay, Seattle. That's Portland. That's San. Okay, yep. So even though the inductee Fritz was not from San Fran, he's associated with San Fran from the brewery.
Right.
Well, he was from Midwest, Fritz.
I know that he spent some time in Iowa, but I really don't know his family background that well, other than the fact that they make Maytag wash machines.
Yes. There's
and Maytag blue cheese too, by the way.
Yes,
they did Maytag blue.
Yeah.
Right, and the Maytag repairman was played by Gordon Jump at one point, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
Good memory.
As God is my witness.
You thought turkeys could fly, did you?
Most famous line that man ever said.
There you go. So
mileage.
that's absolutely true. And I have that T-shirt too, as a matter of fact. But I do. Dave, what anchor are you drinking?
I am drinking. This is the Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, but this is the 21.
2021. There you go.
2021. I don't know why I grabbed the 21. I've got older ones, as you know, but I decided to grab the 21.
Maybe you had more of them.
I had 2 of them. I also have 2 22s left, but all the older ones are like, now they're buried. I kind of cleaned the room up, but I put my Cthulhu glass there because Cthulhu really pops in a dark beer.
There you go.
Here we go.
It's very nice.
If it didn't have that glare off of it.
If it didn't have the glare, exactly. So I, however, I'll be imbibing the Anchor Porter. I had one left, and here it is. There you go. And this is a 2023, right? Yeah. This was packaged on this was packaged on January 11th, 2023. So this is over 2 years old.
Yeah, but Anchor Porter tends to hold up pretty well.
Yeah, I'm envious. That's one of my faves.
Yeah,
oh,
same.
wow.
Or was.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. It'll be back. We got to.
No, I got to be honest with you. Now, I'm going to say something. I'm going to bring up another brewery, just for reference, for my own sake, and I want to talk about this. I don't want to talk about the brewery. Maybe I'll mention it later. But I had a porter from another brewery. All right, it was just the regular porter. There was no barrel aging to it or anything. It was just their standard 5+% porter. And I had it at a bottle shop, a beer bar, craft beer bar in the city that tends to age a lot of their stuff. And not that they would age that, but they did. And it had been sitting there for 2 or 3 years. They had a bunch of them, and I had it, and I was amazed by it. I thought it was, there's no way this is this beer, right? There's no way this is a 5.2% rent, this particular porter, right? So I had it, and sure enough, it was, because I ordered another one, and it was the same thing, and I enjoyed it just as much, right? I'm getting the same vibe with this. I'm getting the same thing with this. I'm getting not that I'm getting barrel notes, right? But I'm getting age on it. I'm getting good age on it. I'm getting tobacco. I'm getting leather. I'm getting, and it's what is this? It's a 5.6% porter. And
are you ever going to tell us what the other brewery is? Or
all right, I'll tell you. It was Central Waters. It was Mud Puppy Porter from Central Waters. So,
I thought you were just building tension for
the
reveal.
I didn't want to bring up Central Waters while we're talking about Anchor. That's why I held it back. But I'm definitely getting.
Well, back to Fritz. Marty, you want to say more about Fritz and why he was worthy to be part of that first class?
That's why.
Other than the fact that his beers hold up.
Yeah, whatever we're drinking because of it. We're here to talk about Fritz and the class, yep. So let's talk about that.
Well, obviously, anybody who follows the craft beer industry and has for any length of time, they certainly heard Fritz's name being mentioned. Many people point to his purchase of the old Anchor Brewery in San Francisco back in 1965 as a lot of people say that's the touch point. That's where craft brewing started. And some people might argue that point, but regardless, the fact is that he did rescue the brewery. He made it solvent again. But the most important thing, in my opinion, is that he brought back one of the only true indigenous American beer styles, and that is steam beer. Mm-hmm. So I think that's why a lot of people credit him with, being the godfather, or, whatever mantle you want to lay on his shoulders. He's the guy who started craft brewing in the United States.
And I love the story of, and I don't know if it's just urban legend, but just imagine him being part of the Maytag family. He could possibly run the dairy, he could run the appliance company, and he goes to his father, says, I need money to buy a brewery. And his father, he had to sell his father on it first, and he sold it well enough that the rest is legend.
Yeah, it was a failing brewery too, which is the most important part of that equation.
Now the thing is, I'm looking, maybe 10 years from now, maybe the guy who, from Dasani yogurt makes the list for resaving Anchor.
So it's
Chobani.
Right.
Dasani's
water, right?
Dasani's the Coca-Cola water, yes. Chobani, yes.
Well, like I've said before, it just depends on what culture he brings around there.
Yeah. You've that joke's almost as old as some of the yogurt in my fridge.
So I hope I haven't heard much on that. There was a big, I don't want to say fanfare or anything like that, but there was a big Marty, is that your phone?
Yeah, I'm just trying to silence it here.
I was just wondering where it was coming from.
John and I are texting each other. Is that you? Is that you?
Never mind.
It's got to be Marty.
It's somebody texting me. I shut him up.
One of them might have been John.
Yeah, right. Which we call it. So no, there was a lot of chatter about it when it was happening, but it's been like radio silence since. I mean,
it's interesting that you bring that up because just today, I'm not kidding, on Facebook, somebody posted, "Hey, has anybody heard anything about Anchor? You know, it's been a while." And somebody who does have some connections, specifically in California, specifically in the Bay Area, said, "I know things, but I can't tell you." And I believe him. I believe him. I do believe him. I know who this is, and I believe him. So I think information will be forthcoming. It's just a question of when.
Yeah, I've been wondering about it, but I've taken the tack of no news is good news.
Yeah.
In this case, right? That everything must be going smoothly if we're not hearing boo.
Well, I'm sure that in that respect, I think that if with the amount of money he put into it, right, I would imagine that he would, we'd be hearing a lot about it if it was going, belly up already before it would have an opening. But we got a comment here from Brian Boak. He said, "Cheers,
cheers,
Brian." Try to get to the comments here. Doug Smith, great first class. The inductees are absolute legends in the craft beer world. The foundation.
Oh yeah.
And then Rod
this guy again. Yeah.
Rod Jagan thought that someone had bread in the oven when he heard that ding. There you go.
He's just timing the boil, Rod. Timing the boil.
That's what he's doing. Right, exactly. So anyway, all right. So yeah, you know what? I thought that was fantastic. That you had you looked at the list of nominees, and you almost you had to say, "Oh, Fritz has to be on this. He has to be a first ballot. Has to." What he did was hands down, amazing in saving that. And like you said, the perfect craft beer, more or less, really when he bought it in the '60s. On that note, let's segue into where a couple of these breweries were around the country. Again, it was 5 breweries across the country, and the one that was announcing Fritz was.
Oh, geez. You expect to remember 4 days ago?
Who announced Fritz? The first inductee was announced.
Well, where were the breweries? It was.
I think it was announced at Deschutes, wasn't he?
No, because both people announced at the Deschutes in Portland. They announced West Coast people.
Yeah, that's right.
So I'm almost positive it was Mitch at New Realm.
Okay. So Mitch Steele at New Realm down in Georgia.
Yep. In Atlanta, right?
Yep.
Yes.
And then whatchamacallit,
That's right.
I got a funny story about Mitch. I'll tell you later. But say had Mitch Steele at New Realm down in Georgia. You had Sam Glagione at Dogfish Head in Delaware.
Correct.
And you mentioned the people that were with them too. Obviously, you had your guys too. With
yes, of course.
You can mention who they were.
Okay, Matt Simpson is one of our board of directors. Mm-hmm. He was with Mitch at New Realm. Mm-hmm. Aaron Gore is our secretary. He was with Sam at Dogfish Head.
Okay.
I thought I'd recognize him, and then I realized, no, almost every brewery's got a guy that looks just like him.
Yeah, beard, hat.
That's it. Yeah, exactly.
That guy is everywhere.
Isn't he? For real.
But the funny thing is, it's one guy.
Yeah,
he's just everywhere.
Yeah, he can teleport.
Exactly.
And that could be Aaron.
Exactly.
He's that good.
Whatchamacallit. And then of course you were in Chicago.
At Dovetail.
At Dovetail with
your vice president.
Hagen Dose. He's not all that well known, I don't think, but he's one of the co-owners and he's one of the brewers. And for those who aren't familiar with Dovetail, it's a real up and comer in Chicago. It's been around for several years, mm-hmm. but it continues to ratchet up its offerings, and it's getting the acclaim that it deserves. Their they specialize in both German and Belgian styles. So
Very nice.
Nothing wrong with that.
Where am I going when I'm in Chicago?
Yeah, they're one of the few
yeah.
breweries in the United States who actually work with a cool ship. So
Very nice.
yeah,
Very nice. 2 weeks in a row, we talked about a cool ship on the show.
awesome.
I think I've been to 3 breweries that have cool ships.
There you go. Well, obviously, Allagash is one.
Yeah.
Kane
Kane has a cool ship?
Kane is a cool ship.
They make it 4. OEC.
Right.
And Tom Trancone's brewery.
Oh, Muckraker.
They had 2. They had the double cool ship, by the way.
Right. So, and then you also had obviously had Deschutes, and who was up there?
Deschutes in Portland, not Bend, and Lisa Morrison, also one of our directors. She was handling things there, and because we didn't have a director, we ran out of directors because there were 2 of us in Chicago, myself and Jan Fryer. So we ran out of directors, and we didn't have anybody who lived close to Denver, meaning from the hall. So we tapped. You guys hopefully you recognize the name Chris Black.
Of course.
Late of Falling Rock in Denver. So we tapped him to go and sit with Ashley at Bierstadt Lagerhaus.
That was perfect. That was perfect.
Yeah, I think so. It worked out very, very well. We're very pleased with that.
Rajay just got a comment there. He says, first he said, dovetail some solid brews from what I have had. But then he said, I'm assuming he's talking about the inaugural. He says, wasn't an easy process when selecting. I'm sure he wasn't talking about your bread in the oven.
Well, this Rod was one of the voters, correct?
He was. Yes, he was. Yep.
So, that's
and
awesome.
by the way, we can get you guys on the list next year.
Oh,
I'd love to.
I would love it.
Absolutely.
I would love it.
Can do. Absolutely.
Absolutely. Cheers to that. Thank you. Appreciate it.
I gotta say, this 21 it's throwing a note that I don't always get out of the Christmas sales. It's throwing a chocolate note.
Okay.
And I don't always get a chocolate note out of it.
No,
Usually,
well, I mean, it's changed up every year. I mean, they modified, tweaked the recipe little by little every year. So every year is going to age differently, and you're going to have something different. You're going to get something different every year.
Well, what I love about this beer, when it's fresh and it's hot, so to speak, the evergreen used, and it always kind of takes over everything.
Mm-hmm.
And then as that fades out, some of the other notes of the beer start to express themselves.
Yeah.
And I don't remember last year, the year. No, a couple of years ago. I don't remember that chocolate note, so that's really cool.
Yeah, 2022 was the newest year, so yeah, you're definitely going to get spruce more than anything when it's hot, when it's fresh.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
But yeah, you got to sit on them for a while.
Like an egg, you got to hatch them.
You got to hatch it, exactly. So, all right. So yeah, I thought it was fantastic. I thought it was great, a great idea. Flipping around the country to the different breweries. With the people you had on there and doing the announcements. I thought that was a fantastic way to do it.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. We were just so happy to get the help and cooperation of the breweries, and especially the folks who sat in for the live stream. Not just lent us their space, but also sat down in front of the camera and said a few words. So that was very cool.
Gotcha.
I would like to mention real quick. I mean, because this actually affected you guys. We were supposed to do this show a week ago tonight.
Yep.
It got pushed back because Dogfish Head couldn't do the live stream last Saturday, meaning a week ago Saturday. So everything got pushed back a week because of Dogfish Head.
So blame Sam.
Sam's fault. Always Sam's fault.
Hey, but we went with it. It's like what Sam wants.
Yeah,
it worked out perfect. We flipped 2 shows. We're good to go.
And gave us an extra week to work on stuff, and
Right. So any of the logistics of everything you were doing, you had another 7 days to work them out. So
and last week we got a brewery on the show. We've been trying to get on the show for months and months and months and months. Finally, so it was a tentative for today, but then when we had to switch, he's like, "Oh, I could definitely do the 11th," so it worked out perfectly. So. Yeah,
that's cool. Glad to hear that.
Yep. Yeah, we got Schilling on the show last week.
Schilling on, yeah. So that was fantastic.
Love what they do. Yeah. Okay, so we've done Fritz. Who's next?
So who's next? Who was next on the list?
Next on the docket is Michael Jackson.
There you go.
Now, if you remember, last time we talked about this, I brought up the question as, in the inaugural class, we have a Brit in the American Craft Beer Hall of Fame.
Okay.
but they're for very good reason. Because I think by the time, after well into his career, he was basically an honorary American after a bit. He spent so much time here. He stated his favorite beer was a beer from the U.S. Not the lower 48, mind you, but the beer was from the U.S. and
which I still had to get more of.
Yeah, I did.
I can't believe John Starodowski found one under his couch.
It was in the cushions,
right?
Knowing John.
Change.
And we're talking about Alaskan smoke porter,
yeah.
But and then after a while, his best friend became Charlie's from Colorado, I believe.
Charlie P. Yeah, he is.
Yeah, he's from Colorado. So he became, other than to look at him with the tweed jacket and the elbow patches, he became an honorary American. But the importance.
Yeah, and also Marty, you had mentioned on the last show when we were talking about that you were kind of getting into major influence in American craft beer,
right?
And who had more of an influence on the building of the
popularity
in the industry and
awareness
and the community itself too.
Yeah.
There's some people that are younger than us, but maybe not super young, but younger than us that actually still mention his name. So.
And his albums.
Yeah. And the Thriller video.
I tell you, you know what? I mean,
it had to happen.
When Michael released Bad, I thought that was great. He's talking about a beer at that point. Right now, I'm kidding. Anyway. So anyway, go ahead. Talk a little bit more about Michael.
Well, I'm just going to kind of finish the conversation that we're just having about him not being an American. Mm-hmm. The board of directors had that conversation because we knew that it was going to come up.
Sure.
And it wasn't a lengthy conversation, but it was lengthy enough that we hashed it out. And we did come up with I can't quote the full short paragraph, but it's basically, it doesn't matter where the person is born or raised. If they had any kind of significant and lasting effect on the industry, then they qualify.
100%.
Something to that effect.
Agreed 100%.
Yeah.
Well, if that's not the way it's written, that was still very well spoken.
Sure.
Absolutely. And we're talking positive impact, right? We don't want the negative.
Yes, of course. In fact, I think the word positive is
I'm sure.
That's a given.
That's the American Craft Beer Hall of Shame.
Yeah.
Okay. That's completely different. So
it's like
next year.
That's next year. Yeah.
It's like the Razzie Awards.
The Razzie Awards, right? Rotten Tomatoes. All right, and then next on the list after Michael.
That's that we just mentioned Charlie Papazian. So there you go.
Charlie P. His Pi Day just passed a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
His birthday. His birthday. No, his birthday. Not PI Day. PIE Day.
All right.
Right. And remember when the last time you were in a show and we were talking about all this, I think I was lobbying very, very hard for Charlie to be on there.
You were. You did. Yes, you did.
Not that you really had to, but I get it.
Yeah. I imagine there was a couple that were unanimous. He was probably one of them.
Well, when you consider that we had over 100 people voting, there was no unanimous.
Oh, okay.
But there were people who, let's just say on a scale of 1 to 100, they were mid 80s.
Wow.
So 85 percentile, something like that.
On that note that you bring this up, we touched on this last time you were on, but let's bring that up again so anybody didn't hear that part of the show or see that show. What was the voting the top 10 or 9 or next year's 5 or whatever vote getters, or was there a is it like the Hall of Fame? Like if 3 people make a certain amount of votes, but everybody else is below 50%, then they don't get in. What was the how did you work that logistics of that out?
Well, it's interesting. This is going to get maybe just a little bit convoluted.
Have you seen our show?
Alrighty then. We had 4 people of those 19 that were nominated. 4 of them were pretty much runaways.
Okay.
Pretty, much like Fritz, Michael, Charlie, and another person yet to come. They were pretty much runaways. It was obviously they were shoo-ins. But what that did, because like I said, we had approximately 104 people vote. Mm-hmm. And the system we were using, SurveyMonkey, in case you're interested.
Yeah, SurveyMonkey, sure.
They do all the tabulating for us. So it was, foolproof, no humans involved. They were essentially taking so much of the vote that it was leaving very little for those who were stuck down in the 50s, 40s, 30s. So had we gone, our original cutoff was 70%. Mm-hmm. We said that in order for anybody to make the hall, they had to score 70% or better. Had we stuck to that rule in this inaugural year, we would have only had 4 inductees.
4 inductees.
And we couldn't do that. We could not have that because we knew people would lose their shit. So we modified our plan and we said, okay, we have approximately 5 people who didn't even get past 30%. So what we did is essentially we dropped them from the scale and we reapportioned the votes for everybody else, an equal share for everyone else. And that's how we arrived at the final numbers that we did.
Gotcha.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I understand where you went with the convoluted, but I got it perfectly.
I get it.
Explained it perfectly. Yeah, no.
It's not something we wanted to do, but it's something we felt we had to do.
Right.
Gotcha. That was that was a smart way to do it, and you got to that. So, but the number is, generally speaking, the amount is 70%. That's where you're.
That is our goal. We're sticking to that for next year.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to do things a little bit different in terms of nominating and voting.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. And this year it was 19 nominees. And you were looking at 10, but you had 9 get in.
Correct.
Right. And then 9, but you'll explain why it's 12, but it was only 9 places. You'll explain that in a minute.
I explain that indeed.
And but next year it's going to be 10 nominees and 5 that you're looking to put in, or as many as get over 70%.
Yeah. Originally we were kind of going with hard and fast numbers, but we're realizing that we really don't have that much control. Mm-hmm. So we may have to make executive decisions, come the final tally.
Gotcha. Gotcha. And here Rod voted, so he'll throw up his comment right now. It was a great process, and I forgot about the minimum percentage and had to ask Aaron as I was looking for 10 and F.
Was one with the 10 and what does the F stand for?
10 and
fun? 5?
10 and 5? 10 and maybe he'll comment in again.
Fernet? I have some Fernet right here for you.
I have Fernet right there too.
I get the feeling Rod's a Malort drinker too.
Well, yeah, actually, we should do a Malort show soon. On the End of Chaser show.
Yes.
I'll bring the old style.
There you go.
Did you guys know that? Do you get the joke?
What's that?
The
old style. I'm talking about old style beer.
Oh, old style beer, yeah.
Well, the Malort's a Chicago thing.
Chicago, yeah.
Primarily.
Yeah.
And old style is the Chicago beer. So have you guys ever heard of a Chicago handshake?
Yeah.
If you go to a bar and say, I want a Chicago handshake, you're going to get an old style beer and a shot of Malort. That's a thing.
I got to remember to do that when I get back to Chicago.
I have to be honest with you. It's not like I knew a Chicago handshake from back in the day. I did learn that not just recently, not too long ago, but a while ago. But yeah, old style beer and a shot of Malort. That was it. Yep. He didn't. Here you go. He didn't mean to put the and F.
Fat fingers.
Just
he was looking for 10. That's what he's saying.
We're trying to appreciate your thumbs.
There you go. And of course, he laughed too. There you go. So, anyway,
not the handshake.
Yeah, not the handshake. Anyway, and I'll just get it up there now. Brian just posted, drinking off the keg tonight started with wooden beanie.
Good.
And Rod J said, "LOL, that Malort gets around." Yes, it certainly does.
Yes, it does.
We were drinking it in the parking lot of MetLife Stadium before a Giant game this year, Rod.
Yes,
so
we were. But the last time I had it was actually in Athens, Georgia, in a bar. It was the barrel aged version of it with my son. Actually, he'd heard so many bad things about Malort, he decided he wanted to try it. And made the comment most people make after they've drank.
Think about what you just said. He had heard so many bad things about Malort, he had to try it.
He's my kid.
There you go.
And he made that comment like, "Oh, that's actually not that bad." And that's the big secret behind Malort. It's really not that bad.
Right. Last time I had it was at in Jersey at the used to be called the Old Ship Inn. Was the first brew pub in New Jersey. It's Descendants Brewing now at the Old Ship Inn, they call it, whatever. And he had a 30th anniversary party for the Old Ship Inn, and there was a bunch of brewers there. We were all there for it. And our beers were on tap, and he was his brew pub, and he pulled out a bottle of Malort, and we were drinking Malort.
And I got a beautiful picture of Joe in the bottle of Malort that they sent me.
There you go.
Okay,
and
so
Rod says we had a Cincinnati brewery just brew a Malort beer. By the way, ooh,
we need to do a beer trade, Rod.
We're gonna have to do something like that. Okay. All right.
Okay, so next inductee after Charlie.
That would be Ken Grossman.
Ken Grossman.
Oh, which means we got to finish.
How appropriate.
How appropriate. We're just about done.
There we go. So, let me pull this out.
Okay.
So, let me whip this all out.
Excuse me while I whip this out.
Is there no better sound?
There isn't. There isn't. Although
bottle top.
Yeah. Although I'm going porter to this, back to porter. So this is going to be interesting.
So Ken Grossman.
I'll just put the crawl up, and people will know what we're drinking and why we're drinking it. So there you go.
So John and I talked before the show, actually yesterday, about this. We figured that the one Sierra Nevada that both of us knew we had, is very appropriate to drink on the show because it is a celebration of these people. So we are drinking the Celebration Fresh Hop.
Absolutely.
Nice.
So is yours this year's, John, or is it one of your age?
No. It's I had a few extras on top of what I try to save. Marty, one of my favorite beers of all time, especially holiday beers, but just in general of all time, is Celebration. And every year I go through a lot of Celebration.
Just on Thanksgiving alone.
Just on Thanksgiving alone while I'm cooking before anybody comes over, right? But in any event, I have Celebration dating back. There's a reason I don't have it earlier than 2017, but I have it dating back to 2017. Before that, I had it earlier than that. But what's amazing about Celebration and what Ken has done with this beer and how it's evolved over the years is that this is an IPA that you actually can sit on, and it actually does change. I wouldn't recommend drinking one that's 25 or 30 years old, mind you, but for 5 to 10 years, and it's still it gets different. Like the malt takes over, but not in a bad way, and there's still notes of the hops in the flavor. But yeah, I love this beer. Anyway, that's what I should have worn tonight. I should have worn my Sierra Nevada Celebration hoodie. That's what I should have worn.
You should have. Now, Ken Grossman's basically the father of the American IPA. Right? Because even though Sierra Nevada Pale Ale is a pale ale, this was the first Cascadian ale, first Cascade hops, use of Cascade hops in that kind of volume or reach.
Yep, absolutely.
And he's responsible for all the hop heads, as far as I'm concerned.
For the most part, but I would like to toss another one in there.
Please do.
I don't know when it was first produced, but Liberty Ale is considered by many to be the first IPA.
First West Coast IP. First West Coast IP or first
Yeah,
American
well,
IPA, or just I mean, West Coast was a term that was,
It's newer. Yes,
it's
it
a
is.
newer term, right? So it was just an IPA then. Whatever it was an IPA. But yeah, you know what? Liberty Ale's a fantastic beer. I loved Liberty Ale. I don't know when it was first produced either. That's a good question.
Yeah, which came first?
Which came first, Liberty Ale
or Celebration?
Or well,
you usually get
Pale Ale.
you usually get Liberty and then you celebrate. Let's face it.
Fair
The
enough.
one thing that we know, the one thing about United Kingdom is it is responsible for so many Independence Days out there. A lot of celebrations. So, as they got their liberty.
Yes, they got
So
their
that's a really good question. We'll have
Well, I
to
know.
research which came first.
We'll have to get on that. We'll have to. Well, we'll actually have. Seriously, I'm gonna. That gave me something to write about this week. I try to do an article every week. That gave me something to write about this week.
There
I'm
you
gonna
go.
write about
Cool.
that. Okay, I'll do that. Which
So,
but yeah,
tell us more about Ken.
we'll talk more about Ken. Yeah, and his and Pale Ale and Sierra Nevada. I mean, it was in the 70s, right? They started in the 70s. Sierra Nevada, like he was 78, I think.
Yeah, well, yeah, 78 is when he and Paul Camusi paired up. I think Ken was home brewing. I don't know if Paul was, and I'm not sure exactly how those two got together. But of course, they decided to open up Sierra Nevada. They made the brewery legal, I think, in '79, but they didn't brew the first batch of pale ale, or at least release it to the public until 1980. Is my understanding of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was in the 80s when the beer first came out.
Yeah.
It's my understanding anyway. We had the same understanding.
And Sierra Nevada became the first brewery to reach to celebrate a 40th anniversary. Now 5 years ago almost.
Right.
But,
Right.
Wow.
Yeah, exactly.
Think about that.
That's amazing to think about. Yeah, so 40.
And still
Yeah.
family owned, by the way.
Yeah, you're right. And it's still family owned. That's the amazing part. And I have not had the pleasure of visiting Chico, but I have been down to Mill River a couple of times, and it's Disneyland. It's Disney World.
It's Hop Disney World.
Hop Disney World.
I've heard it called Malt Disney World.
Malt
Malt
Disney World.
World.
I love it. I've heard that too. You're right.
Both work.
You get it.
Yeah, it's a cathedral to good beer.
It's amazing.
Incredible.
It's so good. It's
The
so
thing,
good.
the thing about that place is as you're driving down the driveway, that windy driveway to get to the building, you see immediately how much money was put into the
Oh, yeah.
place just
Absolutely.
from the driveway.
Mhm.
And then you come around that one bend
Mhm.
into the top of the parking lot, and you're like, "Oh my god,
Yeah.
this is insane!"
Insane.
Yep.
So great.
I've been fortunate enough to make it to both Chico and Mills River. So I mean that was like a bucket list thing for me. So I finally made it.
There's a number of things out west that I have to. I've been fortunate enough to get a lot of stuff, this side of the Mississippi and a little bit west of the Mississippi, but I definitely have more stuff out west to get to. So, Doug Smith just commented, answering our question. Yes, Liberty Ale was brewed with Cascades. I believe it predates Celebration.
It's Pale Ale though that we're talking about.
We're talking about Pale Ale though. Does it predate Pale Ale?
He may have just sort of brain typoed that one.
No, because you said Celebration. We were talking
That's
Pale Ale.
Oh yeah, that's right. I didn't say Celebration, but Pale Ale. Marty's absolutely right. Liberty, 1975. Sierra Nevada Pale, 80.
80. Yeah.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
there
I
you
didn't
go.
know it was
So
that
Liberty-
early.
Yeah, it's that much of a disparity right there.
I'm still writing something. So
His article's going to say something.
something.
Period.
All right, something. I'm gonna put I'm just create something, and I'll put a picture of Liberty Ale and Pale Ale. There you go. Unfortunately, I can't go get a Liberty Ale to drink with a picture during it. That's the unfortunate
Right.
part. But so the picture of porter, I'll just have to, use
There you
there
go.
again. So anyway,
Hold the up.
exactly. So in any event, that place is amazing down there. So I got to get out there. But Ken, what he started back in '78 and then obviously launching in '80 was just short of, insane. And there's a lot. You'll find a lot of for the most part, most of these inaugural inductees, which is why it's so apropos that these people, I should say, not the guys, people, are the inaugural inductees. The craft beer industry owes a debt of gratitude to every single one of these people, in one way or another. And Ken's no exception to that, as well as the rest of the people still coming up. So, moving on to after.
That's a good segue into the next one.
There you go.
Unless it's going to make us open another beer, in which case,
no,
it's not. It's not. And by the way, I can space this out in a way that allows you guys to enjoy it.
We've got to survive the show.
So the next guy, you're going to want to read a book or something. His name is Fred Eckert.
Yes.
And unfortunately, I think to a lot of people who are relatively new to the craft beer world, unfortunately, they're not really going to know Fred. They're not going to appreciate what he was and what he accomplished in those early years before he passed.
But one of the three people on the screen, the one at the bottom of the screen, owes a debt to that man. One of the first beer authors in the United States, if not the first.
I believe so.
But also in your other role as beer judge, because didn't he write the first style guide per se, or guide to styles?
He wrote something along that line. I'm looking up here because all my books are above here. I know I've got one of his up there.
Mine are back here. You can see them.
Mine are in a box in storage, but
of course they are.
I actually did write down the book that it's called. What do you call it? The Essentials of Beer Styles was the name of the book.
There you go.
Right.
That's it right there. And I wonder how much was BJCB influenced by that book, or was it or did they just pull it out of what's around, what we know about, or how much did that book influence it?
I imagine, I can't speak authoritatively, but I imagine it had some influence, certainly. But so did Michael Jackson, because people credit Michael Jackson with being the first person to actually discuss beer in terms of style. Going back to 1977, his first book. So I think a lot of people were probably as influenced by that as anything that Fred wrote. But, who knows? Fred might have been influenced by Michael.
This is very true. This is very true.
Possible.
It's very true. And I'm sure all of them, with Marty being in that, next week we have a beer writer on the show too.
Sure. Oh, yeah. Yes, that's right.
and he's also one of the guys voting for these people.
Yes, one of the judges, as a matter of fact. John Hall will be on the show next week.
Okay, cool.
We'll be drinking smoke next week.
Yeah, it's our annual This Week in Route beer show. So,
can I just make a quick connection there?
Sure, please do.
The brewery that we were just talking about here in Chicago, Dovetail.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I told you that they specialize in Germanic styles along with Belgian.
Sure.
They love making smoke beers.
Oh, nice.
And the day after,
just underlining when I wrote Dovetail.
the day after our event there, we were there on Saturday on the 15th. On the 16th, they had their annual one-day festival called Thank You for Smoking. They served nothing. They served nothing but smoke beers, and John Hall flew into Chicago just for that.
Oh, geez. All right, listen, we'll talk about this with John next week. Mark this on your calendar. We're going next year.
Yeah, we have to.
We're going.
We've got to go for that. But
John will get out there again. The four of us will.
Well, it's all.
I'll reach out there.
And a lot of it's his fault.
Oh, all of it's his fault.
It's Augie's fault for challenging him to do the Facebook page This Week in Route Beer. And I swear to God, after that page took off like gangbusters, all of a sudden every brewery in the country's looking to do a Route beer because all the other breweries are getting this, free publicity on this huge Facebook page with all these people.
And kudos to him for it, because it's an amazing style, and it wasn't getting the due that it should have gotten for many years. And if he had something to do with reigniting that, no pun intended, smoke reigniting, but if he had something to do with it, then kudos to him. It's amazing. It works.
And now
really
be self-serving a little bit. Marty, did we bring up the concept we came up with of the measuring smoke in a beer?
No, but I want to hear about it.
Yes.
We had, because we've got IBUs for the International Bitters units SRMs. Don't remember what SRM stands for that matter. But
Standard reference method.
Standard reference method.
Yes, for the color. You know, and then you got ABV and all this, but we don't have something that measures smoke. So on one show, was it with John? Who was it with?
It was John. It was last year's show with John.
Last year's show.
Last year's show with John.
Came up with this potential of the scale. We've actually fleshed it out a little bit. It's Bamberg smoke units, BSUs.
Yes, BSUs.
And it's a 0 to 5 scale.
Bamberg, Bomberg, whatever you.
Bomberg, yes. Just I've been there.
Potato, potato.
Bomberg. But 0 being no discernible smoke whatsoever. 1 being, wait a second, I'm getting a smoke, but there's no smoke malts in this. And then 2, there's smoke malts, but it's very light and barely discernible. 3 is there's smoke malts. Yes, there's smoke malts. 4 is, oh my God, there's some smoke malts in this. And those are the nice smoky ones.
Those are big ones that you're living in. 5 is undrinkable.
Yeah, 5 is like, oh my God, what were they thinking? It's just like I'm sucking down a forest fire here. What's going on? It's so that's the Bomberg smoke units scale, and we're trying to socialize this and make this a thing.
We're gonna put a graphic together and give it to John. We'll talk about it next week on the show. So
yeah,
maybe he can put it up on This Week in Route Beer, and we can actually make it a thing. Actually, you know, it's funny. You and I have posted some of the stuff talking about BSUs on This Week in Route Beer, and a couple other people have run with it.
Have they put BSUs?
Yeah, they have.
Nice. I've missed those. I love it.
So anyway, where were we?
We got
sidetracked.
This was Ken Grossman. No, this was Fred. We're talking about beer styles.
Fred, we're talking about Eckert. Yeah. So continue. Was there anything else that you want to talk about with Fred Eckert?
Oh, I think I exhausted what I had.
Okay.
I mean, there's more. There's more.
You exhausted what you had, or Dave exhausted you from?
Well, he was another West Coast one, right? Because he was from Seattle. So was he?
I think he was Portland.
Was he Portland?
Yeah, he was an Oregon guy.
So he was announced that they shoot?
Yes. Yep. Lisa Morrison almost got verklempt when she announced him.
That's nice.
I don't know if you guys know Lisa. She's also a beer writer, and she's in the Oregon Beer Hall of Fame.
I don't know her personally, but I know Lisa. I know of Lisa.
Yes. Never met.
Yep.
So,
great lady.
Yes.
So are we going to the next one?
So move on after. Yeah. Yes, move on to the next.
You guys need another beer, or you'd rather?
You can skip to somebody else first.
I will skip to somebody else. He's another West Coast guy, Burt Grant.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Now we're in Seattle.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I think, unfortunately, this is another one of those people who predated much of, the people who are in craft beer today.
Sure.
Probably don't recognize the name, don't recognize how important he was to the early craft beer scene. So this is the time for them to get acquainted.
100%. And Brian Bogue just commented. He said craft beer started out west, so it makes sense that a large portion would be from out there. Absolutely.
Absolutely, yes.
So, and Burt Grant was at Grant's Brewery Pub, or Yakima Brewing was what he was, but with the hop farms that he had. But yeah, you talk about it because you're.
Me.
You. Oh, you. All right. Marty, you. Yes, you. Well, notice here. I pointed at you on my camera.
I'm sorry, it doesn't work that way.
This is what celebration does to John.
This is great.
Happy feet.
That's a good thing. So I never got to meet Burt Grant personally, but I heard so many good things about him. I guess he had a great sense of humor.
God, this sounds like a eulogy to begin with.
Yeah, well, I mean, he has passed, so.
Yes, he has passed.
But yeah, he was extremely influential. He opened up Yakima Malting in, I think it was 82. Correct me on that if I'm wrong. He was one of the first brew pubs anywhere in the United States. In fact, I think he was the first brew pub. Yeah. So he had a lot to do with breaking down the laws that disallowed a place from both producing and serving alcohol on premise. So he led the the charge in that.
Led the charge. I was going to say the same thing. Yeah, led the charge in that.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah.
One of the other things that I found out just fairly recently is that he also is credited with producing or helping to produce one of the first hop pelletizers.
Yes,
which
I heard
makes
that.
perfect good sense, being out there in Washington State with all the hop farms out there, that, he helped invent the pelletizer, which God knows what that did for the craft beer industry.
What it did is
it did a lot.
It really facilitated a lot of home brewers.
That too.
Because getting, especially when you think about the East Coast, getting fresh leaf hop over onto the East Coast was a challenge back in the day. So having them pelletized made it was easier to sell, easier to store, and easier to use in a sense. So yeah, I think that really helped revolutionize home brewing. And probably helped get a lot more of the brewers who became legends started.
Yep.
A lot probably started on pallet hops,
or
pre-hopped malt kits.
Exactly. Now, what you call it? I read somewhere that he would always carry around a vial of hop oil with him and add it to whatever he was drinking to say there's not enough hops in any beer. Every beer needs more hops.
Sounds like something he would do. Maybe even put a little behind the ear.
Yeah. It's like Eau de Hoplet. There you go.
I was going to go Eau de Cascade.
Eau de Cascade. There you go. So it's funny. I just got a notification that Patty Nachel likes the video on Fog Room Guys, episode 217. So.
I think Marty might know her.
Sounds familiar. Not too many people in the country with that.
Anyway, okay. So after we had Burt Grant, next is.
Are you still? Where are you, John? With your?
I still have one more. If Marty wants to do one more, before.
Yeah, I can drag the feed.
Well, because this other one you're going to mention will lead into, to some extent.
Yes, it will.
The last.
It will.
Okay. The next two there's a duo and a trio.
Well, that's true. That's true.
That's true.
The trio is going to lead in. So do the duo. We'll do it that way.
All right. So the duo is Charles Finkel and his wife, Roseanne Finkel. Again, these are folks that probably don't ring a lot of bells for the current crop of craft beer fans in the United States. Charles and Roseanne are very well known by those of us who were around in the early days. One of the first things that they did as a married couple is they started Merchant du Vin, which is an importing company. And people are going to ask, well, how does that help? Well, they brought in a lot of German, Belgian, and British beers that up until that point in time were not available in the United States. So imagine the barriers that were broken for Americans to drink all these phenomenal beers from those three countries. And so obviously the Finkels get credit for that. In due time, they also opened what was called at that time was Pike Place Brewing Company.
Right.
Yep.
For anybody who's been to Seattle, the Pike Place Market is like the tourist place to go. And their brewery was built just a block over. It's now known as Pike Place or Pike Market, I think. Pike Brewing, whatever.
So it's Pike Brewing now.
Yeah.
We got there. I was going to go in.
You were just there last year.
And they were just getting ready to close. It's like, so I didn't get to go in.
Yeah, you couldn't like use your wiles and get in there and have one quick beer at closing kind of thing.
No, I wasn't alone. But first of all, but also we we were also a little on the hangry side as well. So we needed.
I got you.
It was
fair enough.
But
quick decision. You had to eat.
Well, the Pike Place, because also it's only about 2 blocks away from Pike Place Brewing is the original Starbucks. That's right there as well. So that gets a lot of tourist attention. And of course, there's all the fish throwing that people go there to see.
Mongers.
Yes, the fishmongers.
Fishmongers, yeah. So,
But the one thing I found that was really fascinating about Charles Finkel, right?
Charles, yeah.
Charles Finkel, yeah.
Was he was also a beer label designer. Iyengar Celebrator, Sam Smith's Imperial Stout, their Chocolate Stout, their Oatmeal Stout, and the Winter Warmer.
Winter Welcome.
Winter Welcome.
Yep.
He designed those labels, all those labels. That's between everything else you said, bringing all these beers in, opening Pike Place Brewing, and then designing those labels. That's a pretty solid craft beer resume right there.
A little bit, just a bit.
Yep.
That is so cool.
So yeah, that was that topic, and the trio that I'm going to introduce next. That also caused it required a lot of conversation. Not the group of us who are directors, the five of us, we had to go around with that, and we didn't quite come to a conclusion. So we threw it back at our advisors. We have a group of about approximately 40 advisors, and we got a lot of good feedback from them too, as to, where do we make the cutoff? Is Charles on the ballot by himself? Is Roseanne on the ballot by herself? And in this situation, we agreed that because virtually everything they did as a husband and wife, a couple, that, maybe one of them might have gotten in on their own, maybe the other, but definitely as a couple, what they accomplished, they should go in as a couple. So that's how we arrived at what we did. So anyway, what you alluded to at the beginning of the show, the fact that there were 9 nominees,
right,
12 people, they make up 2 of those 12.
Right, exactly. Was that you, Dave?
That's my stomach.
I was going to say.
Peanuts I didn't eat at the beginning of the show. So.
All right, so moving on to the trio.
Okay.
All right.
These people, again, probably not well known among beer aficionados today, but Jack McAuliffe, Susie Stern, and Jane Zimmerman. Together, they are credited with opening what is widely considered the very first craft brewery in the United States in the modern era.
Right.
And I have to make that distinction because just a little while ago, we were talking about the Anchor Brewing Company and how Fritz started that in the mid-'60s. Well, we have to make the distinction between him salvaging an older brewery and reviving it versus these 3 people starting ground up in 1976.
Right.
So,
and he named the brewery after a defunct brewery from San Francisco, correct?
Yes, that brewery was called Albion. So they named this one in term New Albion.
New Albion.
Yes, and that was in Sonoma County. So yeah, it was Jack McAuliffe. He was a Navy guy, and he spent some time in Scotland, and that's where he learned to appreciate good beer, Scottish ale specifically. When he came back to the United States, he got it in his head that he was going to open up a brewery. Not sure why exactly he ended up in Sonoma County, but he did, and he met Susie Stern, who was also a friend of Jane Zimmerman. One kind of brought the other into the fold, and Jack convinced both of them to help fund this brewery. Excuse me. And Susie became the very first brewmaster. I mean, Jack helped. He actually put all the equipment together. He salvaged old dairy equipment and whatnot. But Susie was actually a first part-time brewer until they brought in some actual brewers. And then Jane did odd work around the brewery for the first couple of years to get him off the ground.
It's amazing. Yes. Yeah. It really is. And it's amazing, too. You hear so much talk about it in the early days or whatever. There wasn't a lot of manufacturers of brewing equipment back then, right? I mean, so you had to figure out how to make it work. And dairy equipment was always the go-to. It's just... you love it. I love the history about everything. I mean, everything about the industry is
back to the Maytags, right? Dairy,
right? Exactly, right. Right? Yeah, exactly. Right.
I would just like to say that anybody who is interested in learning more about any one of these folks, you can read their profiles. They're on the website now. Their pictures and their bios are up there. So anybody who cares to read can go to AmericanCraftBeerHallOfFame.com.
There you go.
And we shared the link, did we not?
We shared the link of the well, it's on the website. We'll share it. It's on the Facebook page. We'll share it on the website as well. But it's on the Facebook page from the other day with the video from the live stream of the ceremony. But that's up on the Facebook page as well. Yeah, if anybody wants to go check that out, obviously you can go to American Craft Beer Hall of Fame and check out the website, check out all the bios, check out all of the check out the hall, and that is going to give you all of the people that were mentioned tonight, and on to the future of anybody else getting inducted. But if you go to their Facebook page, American Craft Beer Hall of Fame, you'll be able to see all of this that we're talking about, and any other posts that they put up. Go follow them on Facebook. But if you want to just watch it, and you're already following our page, and you're on Facebook right now watching this video, just scroll down a little bit, and you can watch the video right there.
There you go.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Absolutely.
All right. So are we on to the last?
We are on.
We're ready. We both have our cans ready to go.
All right. Last but not least is Jim Cook.
There you go.
Now, was Jim the fourth runaway?
He was not.
Who was the fourth runaway?
It was Fritz, Charlie, Michael, and Ken.
And Ken. I figured if it wasn't Jim, it had to be Ken.
Yep.
There we go.
Jim Cook, the heart and soul of Boston Beer Company, who most people know as Sam Adams, and I've got the cherry wheat. John, which one did you?
I'll put up your crawl first. There you go. Your cherry wheat.
I did a nice job of pouring that.
You did a very nice job of pouring it. I did a decent job of pouring this one as well.
That's pretty.
There you go.
Cheers to us.
Cheers to us, the three of us. There you go.
Especially us two who know how to pour beer, and we're sure Marty knows how to pour beer.
Please, Marty knows how to pour beer better than you and I together. Yeah. So
he can judge the way we pour our beers.
This is very true. Oh my God, that's
and I am too.
As you should.
There you go. So David's drinking the cherry wheat. I am drinking an oaked vanilla porter.
Holy crap! Okay.
Wow.
This was actually, I've had this before. I've had this at the Sam Adams tap room in Quincy Market. I've had this. I bought a couple cans there as well. But this particular can, I forgot I had it. This particular was in the back of the fridge. This particular can was in the holiday 12. My IPAs. In the holiday 12 pack of it was 3 cans each of Old Fezziwig, Oak Vanilla Porter, Holiday White, and something else. I forgot. I'll think of it. But yeah, it was in the holiday 12 pack this year.
That explains why we haven't seen it in Chicago.
And there you go. So, but this is fantastic. Like I said, I've had the first time I had it was I think it was 4 years ago, somewhere in there, at the tap room in Quincy Market, up in Boston.
I've got to say something.
And it was fantastic, and it's just as fantastic right here. So
I got to say something about this. I think I'm always going to drink this after Celebration. Because we were talking about, okay, so I'm going to drink the cherry wheat after drinking Celebration. I'm not going to be able to taste the damn thing. I was dead wrong. What has happened is Celebration has knocked out most of the beer except the cherry. Mm-hmm. The cherry just exploded when I took a drink of this.
Yeah, you know what? The vanilla is really prominent in this right now. So it's probably along the same lines, right? So
yeah, so I'm gonna go get me more cherry wheat, and I'm gonna drink a Celebration and a cherry wheat afterwards because that was amazing. Yeah. I like
by blending.
There you go.
I don't know if I'm blending those two. I love blending beers. I really, really do. But
I love blending beers too, but I don't know if I would do that.
No.
That would be.
I think one of my favorites is I took. It was. What was it? It'll come to me. Talk amongst yourselves.
Yes. Let's get back to Jim. So Jim Cook, He's the ninth inductee this year into the inaugural class. And again, as are the rest of them.
Well, in the order done on this show.
In the order done
yes.
for
the other one, and again, and as Marty said in the beginning of this, there's no order, no pecking order, if you will, for how they were, inducted this year. They're all inducted. They're all first class. And not first class, but the first class of inductees.
But the other thing helps. The other thing applies too.
Well, sure. I mean, if you look at it like that, if they're first class, then they're first class, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of what it means.
That could be the definition, yes.
But in that case, Jim has done a lot, like for the craft movement, obviously, as much as anybody else, and in some respects, more recently than some of them, but just as deserving as all of them. He's I think he was in my if I were voting this year, if we're voting next year, but if I were voting this year, he would have definitely been. All of these would have been on my would have been voted for.
He was just such an amazing ambassador.
Yeah.
Of him. Whereas all these other names that are on there, they were not visible presences to the nation per se. Jim Koch was. He was a lunatic. He would dive into hops. He would dive into the beer. He made a spectacle out of himself to really express how wonderful craft beer was.
He would drink Utopias for 35 minutes with me.
Yeah. Oh, it wouldn't be a show without John.
That was for Dave. That was for Dave. But yeah, no, I wasn't kidding either. By the way, I had 2. He had like 6.
But no, he was just such a great ambassador for craft beer, not just his own beer, but craft beer in general. And one of my favorite stories is when we had the hop shortage. Boston Beer Company, they had a huge stock of hops, and all the local craft breweries, they were running out, and he was selling hops to them at cost. He wasn't making any money off of it. I'm sure he was probably selling some of it under cost, knowing Jim. It just, his passion was for craft beer and the industry itself. And, so I was really happy to see him in the inaugural class.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he had a lot of support among, we could tell from when the advisors submitted their nominations and when the votes came in. And, we had a lot of unsolicited suggestions for people to be in. He was the name that was probably mentioned most. But yeah, I mean, he was one of the best ambassadors that craft beer has had. He was a showman from day one, which I think rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. But eventually, he proved himself, to be worth the annoyance. I mean, he's done a great deal for craft beer. But I'd also like to mention that he's also done a great deal for American home brewers as well.
Oh yeah,
with the long shot competition,
mm-hmm.
Things. So yeah,
whatchamacallit from Flounder won one of those one year.
Yes, he did. Jeremy Flounder.
Jeremy Lees. Jeremy Flounder Lees. Yeah,
yes.
There you go.
And I think they call him Flounder because he looks a little like the character from Animal House.
Right. Well,
we're not kidding.
Flounder.
A little rotund.
It's fat, drunk, and stupid is no way to go through life, son.
My advice to you: start drinking heavily. You better listen to him. He's pre-med. Anyway,
so I would like to mention one thing. This
do.
was a situation based on the conversation we just had a little while ago. This came up, the fact that Jim also had a partner early on in the business. Do you guys know her?
Yeah. Oh, what was her name? Yes,
no,
I know this.
I'm completely ignorant of this one.
Yeah. Oh, damn it.
Let me know when you give.
You want the Jeopardy music, John?
Yeah.
I'm not going to get it.
Just-
I know it.
just
I'm not going to
look
get
at
it.
Okay, Jim's partner was Rhonda Coleman,
Rhonda Coleman. That's right. Yeah.
and I don't know exactly how long she was with the business, but she was there on the ground floor when Jim
Yep.
started Sam Adams. Of course, when Sam Adams started, it was not an actual brick and mortar brewery. It was contract beer.
Right.
But she helped on the sales end of things. So as much as he was a salesman, she was also out there pounding pavement with him.
Right. Which is why, because he started doing it that way, which is why the first brewery license in Boston, even though Sam Adams started before Harpoon, the first brewery license in Boston was Harpoon, and the second brewery license is Sam Adams.
Just curious, where did Commonwealth come in?
Oh, geez, I mean, that they got to be in the top
Neck
5.
and neck.
They got to be neck and neck. Got to be right there.
Yeah.
3, 4. I would say 3, 4, or 5, or even 3 or 4. They got to be right there. But yeah, Harpoon. They always say that, and they pay homage to Sam Adams. They're not busting Jim's chops by any means. They always say that their brewery license ends with 001. Jim's ends with 002. It's the Boston Bay Beer Company and the Boston Beer Company. Those are the, those are the two. But anyway, it's fantastic. Yeah, look, Marty, this list of inaugural inductees is amazing, and I think anybody that knows the history of craft beer in this country can't argue any one of these inductees. I think it was almost a perfect slate to go into the first as the first inductees into your American Craft Beer Hall of Fame. Our American Craft Beer Hall of Fame. Our.
It is not.
And I say our like our.
It's owned by the people.
Right, exactly. Our American Craft Beer Hall of Fame.
Yes, but thank you for saying that, because we've gotten a lot of good, very positive feedback on the slate of inductees. Mm-hmm. Yeah, a couple of cranks who were not happy about this person.
You're always gonna get a crank.
There's always people complaining about the snubs, as it's called. Yes,
but I think there's always next year, and we're going to have another excellent slate. I'm looking forward to it already.
Absolutely. Yeah, John and I have already discussed 2 who will probably be in next year, but we'll see about that.
We'll talk about it, but it depends, right? It depends on how they're voted.
We
may vote for them, clearly, because we talked about them, but that doesn't mean everybody else will. So.
But the other thing I really enjoyed about this the inductees is the breadth of what they brought. There wasn't just brewers. It wasn't, you had writers, you had writers, distributors, as well as brewers on there. So
some who are owners and not brewers.
Exactly. It was that great mix that impressed me as well from this list. But like John said, I'll echo what he said. You can't argue this list. It's solid. You can kvetch a little bit about maybe a few people that you might think should be on there, but you may not have as much white hair as the rest of us if you are.
Right, 100%.
Because they came after, and they built upon those. And who's the one who said it? It was said down there. It was Doug, the foundation.
100%.
These were the foundations. These were the stepping stones, and almost everybody's going to come afterwards. Use these stepping stones. Look
at these 3 chins. There's a reason they're this color.
Yeah. So
that's there, but
so there are a lot of other people out there who have massive importance to the craft beer world, and we'll see them in coming years. But this is the foundation. These were the first. These are the OGs.
And speaking of OG, Doug Smith just mentioned Bill Owens.
Yeah, there you go.
There we go.
100%. Yeah, Doug, 100%. Bill Owens is a strong candidate for the next class. Yep.
Occasionally, Doug knows what he's talking about, despite being a Bruins fan. It's just I just had to make fun of whatever logo he has up there this time of year. Football season's over, so he doesn't have his Patriots logo up.
Right. So so he's a Bruins fan now. Yeah. So exactly. Which means that, well, no, he'll go to a Red Sox logo in a couple of months.
He was probably a Bruins fan halfway through the football season, though.
Knowing Doug, he was because of this past season, he was a Bruins fan about 3 weeks into this past season. So.
We got to make fun.
As was John. But all right, we'll get back to wrapping up discussion on the American Craft Beer Hall of Fame. But I think it's perfect timing for our top 3 list. Because of what we've been doing. We've been talking about this. We're going back and forth. As you know, we do a top 3. Doug said true, Dave. As you know, we've been going back and forth with this, and what we've been doing. And tonight we actually drank an Anchor, we drank a Sierra Nevada, and we drank a Sam Adams because Fritz Maytag.
Well, we can still get those beers. We would have drank a New Albion if we had one.
We would have drank a New Albion, but here's the other thing too, and I mentioned this before. Jim Cook, and we didn't just mention this just now, unless you were talking about it. Jim Cook brought back New Albion Ale.
He wasn't the only one. Someone else did it as well. Someone else paid homage and did a New Albion Ale as well. But it was Jim Cook who did it, and all the proceeds went to Jack.
Right.
Because he was faltering a little bit financially, so he helped him out and did that. But I thought someone else did the New Albion Ale.
Well, either way, we'll check that out. Doug, get on that.
I'll have to look this one up. I'm pretty certain.
You look it up, or Doug, or Rod, or we can look it up. But
no,
yeah,
Rod's gone. Rod
left out. Yeah, that's true. Rod did leave. He did say before. He said, "Have a great stream, guys. Have to go prepare one for myself." There you go. So, clearly, his guests on his stream tonight are none of the 3 of us. So.
Clearly.
So anyway, so my point being, we had these on, and of course the other one. I mean, we're not going to find any of Burt Grant's beers either. No. So that's why unfortunately. Well, so that's why I had these 3.
Yeah, he did like the first American Imperial Stout from
Did stouts and everything. Yep.
Yeah, God.
And he was a big proponent of IPA.
Yep. Well. As big of a hothead as he was,
where he was, he better.
So in any event, so we decided that the top 3 list tonight should be the number 1 beer of each of ours from all 3: Anchor, Sierra Nevada, and Sam Adams. So that's what we're doing. So it's a top 3 list, but it's the number 1 beer from each of those 3 breweries. So and I actually have the. There we go. Top 3, and I put a colon after the 3. Dave's suggestion: favorite beers from Anchor, Sam Adams, and Sierra Nevada. So there you go. Marty, we'll start with you.
Do you want me to go through all of them, or
just your number 1 beer from Anchor, your number 1 beer from Sierra Nevada, and your number 1 beer from Sam Adams.
All right. Unfortunately for the Sam Adams, it was a specialty beer that they brewed. They brewed it on a regular basis a couple of years ago. Mm-hmm. I haven't seen it in probably 4 or 5 years now, and I don't remember the name either. I tried to do a quick search on the internet before we came on tonight. I couldn't find it. It's not available in any one of their tap rooms. It was bottled. What I do remember, it was Belgian, and it was as good as any other Belgian I had ever had.
Was it a quad?
No, it was fruited.
Okay. Because I remember one quad that they did, I actually have a bottle of it too. In fact, I have a bottle right in there.
It was kind of a weird shaped bottle too.
Yeah, it's go down. It was called Tetravis. Was the quad that they had? That was fantastic.
That was also good. But that series, they did some really strong beers. Yeah. And I don't mean strong like alcohol. I mean solid, well-made beers in that series. All came in those same shaped bottles. Sure. But I don't see them anymore. Anyway,
remember that's the one that kind of looked like someone took a brew kettle and stretched it. Yeah. That right. It's what it always looked like to me. I could never describe the shape of that until that point.
Yeah, it was unique to be for sure. But anyway, that was my number 1 beer from.
I might have had one back there, but I don't.
Yeah, I mean it's just a memory. Unfortunately, I was big on their Doppelbock, which I haven't seen in years. I was big on their Scotch Ale, which I haven't seen in years. Mm-hmm. So all of my best Sam Adams beers are memories.
So the Doppelbock, which they called Double Bock,
Yes,
that was
yes.
a fantastic beer.
Yes, it was.
Right?
That literally was one of the best American brewed Doppelbocks I've ever had. It really was.
I agree, absolutely.
It really was. All right, so we'll just call it fruited Belgian.
We'll
find the name. I'll find the name. We'll find the name. There you
Cool.
go. So there you
You can do better than I did.
go. Yeah.
For Anchor, for as few times as I've had Old Foghorn, that always left a good memory.
That's a good beer.
Great beer.
My second favorite for them was the Porter, which you just had. That was one of my favorites. But the one that I wish that I had in front of me right now is Liberty Ale.
Mm-hmm.
That was a beer that it was one of them that I cut my teeth on in the early days. And it taught me a lot, and I miss it a lot. So
Liberty Ale was good. Liberty Ale was
Yes,
Old
it
Foghorn. Old Foghorn was really good. You know what? I always forget about that beer. That was such a good beer. It really, really was.
Yep, small bottles.
Yep, exactly.
For Sierra Nevada, of course, I have to say that one of my top three for them was the Pale Ale. You can never get enough of that. There's never not a good time to have a Sierra Nevada Pale Ale.
Nice.
Celebration, of course, is always up there as well.
Sure.
But the beer that I always enjoy is their Narwhal Barrel Aged. Gotta have it.
Barrel aged narwhal is just
Fantastic.
it's just an amazing beer. Yes. There you go. Barrel aged narwhal. All right. Yeah, that's I think you're spot on with all of those. They're fantastic. All in my conversation too. We'll get to mine, but Dave, let's do yours now.
Well, Marty touched on probably all three of mine in one way or another. So I'll do the same brewery in order of the same breweries that he did. I'll start with Sam Adams. In that series of those bottles, whatever you want to call the shape, was a beer called Cinderbock.
Sure.
Yes.
It was a smoked bock. It was just
Yes.
if
I'm gonna go off camera for 1 second. Keep talking.
if you ever complain about Bock being a little too sweet, one of the best way to mitigate that sweetness is to do it with some smoked malts. I just thought it was a beautifully rendered beer. Absolutely love Cinderbock. And that was on that same series.
And now that you bring it up, I do remember it. Yes, that was awesome.
Such a good beer. But gotta give but also that's my answer right there. But still gotta give that nod to Triple Bock.
Yep.
that was such a fun beer. And I remember having one that was about 17 years old, and we invited a bunch of people to this barbecue place to come try it. So we're all getting like little shots of it. One guy was like, "That's the shape of it. That's the shape of the bottle right there." Yep.
Yeah. That's the Tetris. There you go.
But the and one guy who was invited goes, no, I'm not coming. They're all like soy sauce now. And to be honest, the bottle was corked. Unwrapped it. The bottle was corked.
Yep.
So we were pouring it through a strainer because the cork disintegrated. We poured it through a strainer. It was fantastic. I had one of the good bottles. It was the 80. I forget which year it was.
94,
Yeah, it didn't
95,
start-
and
94.
94, 95, and 97 were the 3 years.
It was 95. It was the 95. And it was fantastic. So, but Cinderbock is, I wish I could find, I wish they'd do that again.
That whole series.
That whole series was when Sam Adams, they were getting a lot of guff about not being a microbrewery anymore.
Right.
And this is before the term craft brewery came out to then start to encapsulate breweries like Sam Adams. Like
It may not be a microbrewery, but there's certainly a craft brewery.
Exactly. So, and I think that's why the term craft beer came out to bring those breweries that are still doing craft beer, but they've gotten big back into that fold. Right. But I think Sam Adams decided to prove we still know what we're doing. We really do.
And they proved it.
Yes, they proved it big time with that series. Your next one was Anchor. And with a nod to the Christmas ale, because I just love the fact that it lasts, it changes every year. I love the concept behind it. But my number one is what John drank, porter. Anchor Porter to me is the porter. Anytime that I would be teaching somebody about craft beer, bringing them into the craft beer world, and when we got to the porter style, I'd go get Anchor Porter. Mm-hmm. This is where you need to start. This is the bellwether. This is what you measure all porters against is Anchor Porter. This is the consummate American porter right here. Are there better ones? Sure. And there's definitely worse ones. Mm-hmm. But this is the standard to measure a porter against is Anchor's Porter. So that's my favorite Anchor, hands down. Mm-hmm. Sierra was the hardest one for me.
Yeah, me too.
It's just I know we all know yours. Anybody who watches the show knows your favorite. Barrel, and I said to John right off the bat, barrel aged narwhal is just one of the greatest beers that they make. But since you said it, I'm going to go to this one. Tumbler was, and I was trying to, because I was wearing this shirt, and Carrie asked me, she's like, "Oh, what's that shirt?" I'm like, well, Tumbler isn't made anymore. It's another one which I really wish would be resurrected. Tumbler to me was fall in a glass. When you walk outside in fall and there's that crisp air and there's the leaves and all that, imagine that all encapsulated into a beer. It's not that that's what it tastes like, but it evokes those thoughts. It evokes the thoughts of sweater weather. And I think it's just, I don't know there's too many beers out there that can really claim to be fall beers. Tumbler is a fall beer. And it's my favorite season to begin with. And this was one of my favorite things that Sierra ever did. And I'm really sad that it's gone.
Mm-hmm.
So remind me, was that like a brown ale?
Yep, it was a brown ale.
It was a brown ale.
Because we didn't see that in Chicago much.
We did get it here. I drank a lot of it.
I drank more.
But I drank more. No, I drank more. It's not about who drank more.
Yes, it is.
Yes, absolutely. So those are my three.
There you go. All right. Okay. I'm going to change up the order only because I'm not going to end with Sierra Nevada. You all know
it's anticlimactic.
It's totally anticlimactic for me.
You might as well start there.
So I'll just go in reverse order, right? So Sierra Nevada, you know what? Tumbler was a favorite beer of mine. Anybody that knows me, anybody that's listened to the show, brown ales are a big, big style for me. And I want to give a nod out to Bigfoot. Bigfoot's a good beer too. It's an American barley wine, so it's a little more on the hop side than the English counterpart. And there you go. 2010. Wow.
Nice. That's just about perfect now, Marty.
Yep. I was going to say, the longer you sit on it, the more English it gets.
Yep. You're not wrong.
That's one of the truest things that's ever come out of your mouth, John.
There you go. So on that note, but of course, Dave's not lying when he's holding up the can, so am I. That's my favorite Sierra Nevada right there. Celebration done right there. My Anchor, I'll give a nod out to the Porter too because it's a fantastic beer. And you always forget about Old Foghorn, like Marty was talking about. But my favorite Anchor is definitely the beer that Anchor had released that has 3 different names. Okay, it's the Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. It's the Our Special Ale, and it's the Christmas Ale. It's the same beer, but it's all 3 of them, right? Depends on the year they released it or whatever, but the Christmas Ale, that's my favorite Anchor. And of course, and my Sam Adams was not one that's mentioned. I will give a nod to the Double Bock and Cinderbock for that matter. And you heard my comments on Double Bock earlier, but my favorite Sam Adams is literally by far, and I've only had it a couple of times. And the couple of times were in succession to each other, and I'll explain. Went up and actually had a private tour of the barrel room, right? So we're in there drinking barrel-aged beers, and we had a Macallan barrel-aged Scotch ale. It was just shy of 16% Scotch ale. It was like 15.8, I think it was 15.6, 15.8, something like that. But it was the Scotch ale, but it was a Macallan barrel-aged Scotch ale, and whatchamacallit, I loved it so much they actually gave me a growler of it to leave with, and that was gone that night.
Oh,
So,
what were you?
How much do you? How much?
Not much after I
getting up the
finished
next-
it.
yeah.
Well, no, I wasn't the only one that drank all 64 ounces of it, but I probably had 40 of those 64. So yeah, that was an interesting, and like I don't remember falling asleep. I remember most of the night, but I don't remember falling asleep. And it was a touchy morning, but it was a fantastic beer, and it was so good. It was,
or was like, "Don't touch me" morning.
It was, look, this Scotch ale, their Scotch ale is amazing, and I love the Scotch ale, but this one was definitely lauded for about 4 days. All right. And it was just so thick and chewy and amazing. And then they put it in a Macallan barrel. Oh, please. This beer was so fantastic. So I don't know. This was 8 years ago. So I don't know that they've done it again. And I don't know they will do it again. I kind of hope they do it again. And I hope I'm somewhere near any incarnation of it. They do it again. But this was a fantastic beer. It's by far one of the best Sam Adams I've ever had.
I just want to point out you said doo-doo twice.
Of course. No.
So,
That's why I have you. You point these things out.
yes, I'm a child. I know.
Anyway, so those are mine. So, great. All right. So, as far as the whole goes, this slate.
Before you moved on, we missed a comment by Doug.
Oh, we did.
We're talking about New Albion.
Oh, yes, I did see that. Here we go. Doug said Jack's daughter, Renee DeLuca, owns the brand now and has contracted New Albion at a few different.
I'm glad he brought that up because part of
that's what you were probably talking about before.
Yeah, the money that New Albion from Boston Beer Company raised to give to Jack, he gave some of it to Renee, and she resurrected the brand. I think she first resurrected it in Cleveland, of all places, and it's moved on from there. But I've not seen it, so it must be.
Where in Cleveland did you?
I don't know, but it must be hyper local because I've not heard anything about it since. So it's out there, but
yeah, I haven't seen it either. In fact, I was surprised to see that New Albion has a Facebook page. I just tripped across that a couple of days ago.
Interesting. So the beer must be out there somewhere.
Hey, you know what? That's fantastic. I was fortunate enough to have some of the Jim Cook version of
So did I.
now. And,
I had it when I was in Rhode Island because was I in Rhode Island when they had that? No.
It was years ago.
I was in Morris Plains. Never mind.
I was going to say that was probably Jim did it. Probably what 2012, 2013. I think he did it.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, somewhere in there. But yeah, it was tasty. It was a good beer. But
Yes, it was.
yeah. That's great though. She's doing that. If she's resurrecting the brand, that's awesome. I'd like to find out where it is though. We'll have to check into that. Let's do that. Mark that down. Check.
Oh, Brewdog in Columbus.
Brewdog is brewing New Albion.
Yep, DeLuca is now brewing Jack's original recipes with Brewdog USA in Columbus, Ohio. So we're gonna talk to Tom. Tom he stayed there.
Yeah, yeah. You know what? I'll message Jim James Watt on Facebook and find out what's going on there.
Okay,
There you go.
interesting. So there we go. There's your answer. Brewdog's doing it in Columbus.
That's interesting. Now he referred to at a few different breweries, though. Is it just that you saw?
That's all I've seen so far.
We'll check into it. We'll check into it.
This is Wikipedia, and Wikipedia is not always
right. Yeah, so we can. Well, Marty mentioned the fact that they have a Facebook page. I'm sure something's going to be listed somewhere.
Yeah, so it's going to be somewhere, and yeah, because Wikipedia, anybody can put up anything. John, don't ever look at look up your name on Wikipedia.
I'm sure there's some interesting things about me on Wikipedia. So there you go.
I
Doug just said road trip. Doug, meet us there.
There we go.
Doug, don't meet us there. Doug, come to Jersey first. we'll have a few things in Jersey.
We'll road trip out
go
there
out together
via Pittsburgh.
and Marty will meet us there. There you go.
There we go.
There you go. Actually, Marty should meet us in Pittsburgh, and then we'll all go out to Columbus. There you
That
go.
sounds like a plan.
There you go.
There's good liquid in Pittsburgh.
There's very good liquid.
I had a hard time finding good food in Pittsburgh.
There's some good food.
You got to look though.
Yeah, but you've been there once. I've been there like 8 times. I know where there's good
so
food.
you know where to go.
So anyway, all right, getting back to the hall. This was an amazing slate. I think this first year, the inaugural inductees was perfect. I honestly, I'm not even blowing smoke. I think it was a perfect slate to go in as the first year inductees. What do you have to say about how your thoughts on this first process went?
Well, first of all, thank you for that. It reassures me. But I'd like to make it clear to your listeners that I'm not taking credit for that. I really had nothing to do with it.
You had a lot to do with it.
No, because when you take
starting the whole process. So
okay,
you had in that respect.
But fair enough. But when it comes to the actual nominating and voting process, I mean, yes, I do nominate people. I also vote. But I'm one of, like I said, I mentioned earlier, 104 people participated in voting. So I was just one of, there were 103 more people. But yes, I'm very pleased with where this slate ended up, where the people we have on there. Yes, I would have liked to seen others, but we had to cut it somewhere, and that's what next year is for.
Well, yeah, I mean, you could, but look, you could have. We could say this, not you personally, in this
John's still crying that Eli Manning was snubbed his first year.
That's another story. If you want to hear my rant on Eli Manning not making it into the Pro Football Hall of Fame, tune in tomorrow night to the sports podcast. But in any event, no, we could have put 30 names in, right?
Easily.
So, yeah. But I think to cap it the way you did it, and the boundaries that you've set, which I think are well deserved boundaries. I think this was a perfect slate to start.
Yep, I agree. Absolutely.
Very glad to hear that.
Mm-hmm. So.
It makes me feel like we're doing the right thing and we're doing it the right way.
Mm-hmm. No, 100%.
Yeah, 100%.
There you go. What other than nominees coming out later this year and anything, and setting up for next year? What's in the works for the American Craft Beer Hall?
When's the physical hall coming?
Because there's going to be a brewery involved with it, right?
That we're going to be measuring
tap room there, and
hey, you got to go out, talk to the people at Sierra. They've got new Albion signage in their tap room.
Yeah,
the original signage. So that maybe they need to build another build off to the side where the halls is.
I'll have to make that
they just have mounds of cash laying around.
Yeah.
No, our goal was, we do have the thought of a brick and mortar location at some point in time. We know that that's years down the line.
Yeah, of course.
What we have to do first is make the American Craft Beer Hall of Fame legitimate. We have to go through the first round or 2, maybe 3, I don't know, but we have to prove that this is real. And we're doing this, we're taking our time, we're getting a lot of different voices involved, and we're trying to do this openly, transparently, and legitimately. We're hoping in accomplishing that much that eventually the funding will come.
I think there's a lot of things that speak towards the legitimacy of this already. One, let's first just the initial list. Second of all, the person who started is a very, very well-respected voice within the craft beer community.
Can you hook me up?
Yep. Yeah. Not trying to kiss ass here, but Marty, when we heard, again, John and I were talking about it when it came up. First, we were like, how the hell did no one ever think of this before? First. And second, like, it's Marty. It should be Marty. Who else should it be? So that lends credence to it. But also, when you look at the board of advisors that you had, and you look at the names on that board, and the fact that they were all well, I can't say all of them, but those of them who we know were thrilled to be part of it. I think if anybody questions the legitimacy of this, they're not in the craft beer world. So I think you've established that already.
Yeah. Yeah. I would agree with that. I would agree with that. I would say that you may need, for some other,
some longevity, but
another year or two, and then you're on board. But I think the establishment of the direction this is heading and the legitimacy of what this means and why this needs to be a thing is as far as I'm concerned, is already there. So,
and like every other Hall of Fame, there's like in the initial induction class, there's people going, "Who?" And then when you look into it, like, "Oh," I think that lens.
Yeah, that's a good thing to say. If there's anybody listening to this podcast, whether you're watching this live now, rewatching it, or listening to it on any of the podcast streams after the fact, if there's any names that have been mentioned on here, if you go to the video, if you go to the AmericanCraftBeerHallOfFame.com website and you look at the names that were inducted and you have to say who and you're not sure, check them out. Look them up. Look at the bios on the website, on the AmericanCraftBeerHallOfFame.com website, and Google it. Do your own research, right? Find out why they are who they are and why they're nominated this year and why they were inducted this year, I should say. So there you go. So
thank you again for that.
Absolutely, 100%. All right. What's coming up for Marty in the next short time this year?
Do you mean non-Hall things?
Non-Hall things.
We're not talking John. We're not even talking John Hall. The Hall.
Non-Hall.
H-A-L.
Non-Hall rhymes with John Hall, but no, non-Hall things.
I actually do have something, a marble bouncing around in my brain right now. This is another pet project, much like the Hall. It started with this idea. I was talking with some guys. In fact, you guys may have also kind of led into this. I was talking with some beer guys who, OGs, they've been around forever. And we were just sitting around having beers, and they just kept telling story after story after story. And we were laughing our asses off. And I'm thinking, what happens when these guys pass away? Where do those stories go?
Absolutely.
So I have it in my head. If I'm not going to write a book, then I'm going to somehow capture those stories. If I put it down on, videotape them, much like I don't mean to be, what they did with the Holocaust.
Right.
Yeah. They before people passed away, they interviewed them and they captured all that on tape, the voice, the images. It's similar to that. I don't mean to get down there, but in some way, I want to capture these stories because first and foremost, they're funny. They're just damn funny. Second of all, it tells so much about the beginning of this industry, and I think it's a lot of stuff that people can relate to. So anyway, to make a long story short, that is my next pet project.
I love it. I love it.
And it's, you start getting to our tenures on the planet, so to speak, and we've all lost people along the way. And when you start thinking about, the conversations you had with your parents, your grandparents, when you said that, it immediately took me to my grandfather and the stories he would tell when he served in World War II. And I really wish I had recorded them or written them down. There's details I've forgotten, and there's no source to go to anymore. So I applaud this. This is it's perfect. You've got to get this stuff done.
And on another note, and just anybody just casually listening or just in general to say it, everything you hear, every story that's told to you, craft beer, World War II, your family, any story that's told to you is history.
Yeah.
All right. It means something to somebody and could mean something to somebody that hasn't heard it. So, remembering things and listening to people and listening to conversations and and I don't mean to be. I don't want to get somebody to say "Okay, boomer" to me right now, but I'm going to say this. I'm going to say this at the risk of somebody saying that. Doing this every day is not serving the history properly. All right. Now, if you're looking at a video of somebody giving you history, that's a different story. There's a caveat there, right? There's a caveat there, but yeah, talk to people, have conversations, talk to your elders, talk to your parents, talk to your grandparents, talk to your great grandparents if you're fortunate enough to, if you're young enough and fortunate enough to still have them. But anybody in your business, in your line of work, in your hobbies, in your free time, anybody, just get stories, and it's going to make you. It's gonna give you more of a foundation of what you're doing, whatever the situation may be that I just mentioned. Right.
And listen, but Marty, as you go through that pet project, you were talking about maybe possibly not writing a book. I would implore you to write a book.
It would be a series, I think, Marty.
No. with your stories.
Oh well. Oh yeah. I see where you're going.
Your experience, the people that you've met, the crevices of the craft beer world that you have explored. I mean, that'd be some reading to hear the experiences you've had.
I suppose I have some stories to tell, but
I imagine you've got. Okay, the length of the book of that you wrote about beer judging. I'm sure your experiences are longer than that. That's not a very long book. So you've written books that are probably shorter than what you were thinking of with your memories. No, I'm sure once you get going, one memory will spark another memory, which will spark another memory, which will spark a memory, and you will. I'm sure there's many stories that really don't immediately come to your mind that, as you get going, will probably come to the forefront. So. Maybe another project of yours.
I was going to say maybe 2 books.
Could be 2 books. Could be 2 books. Too.
There you go.
There you go. 2 books and a video series with a website for it. There you go. I think that's what you.
There we go.
There you go.
Oh man,
that's what you need to do.
I'm going to be a busy boy.
I think I think you got your work laid out for you in 2025.
There you
Absolutely.
go.
As the American Craft Beer Hall of Fame gears up for the 2026 inductees.
Yep.
So
yeah.
There you go. All right. Yeah, this was fantastic. I think this is great. This is perfect. That's a great show. We're stoked that you came on and talked about what you guys did last Saturday. I think that was an amazing. It was an amazing video. Seriously, everyone. I hope that you watch this whole show and/or listen to the whole show, but go watch the video of the ceremony and if you've listened or watched the whole show tonight. Or rewatched it, then you're going to know what's happening. But you need to see it happen as it did, especially how they did it around the country.
Yeah, I was going to give dispensation everybody. Like if watch that before you watch the show. But saying at the end of the show,
they've already watched it, right?
Kind of pointless.
If they're hearing this, they didn't start watching this show an hour and 53 minutes in.
No. So
if they're hearing us talk this about right now,
as a thought came to my head, I realized this is something stupid to say, but I'm going to say it anyway, but acknowledge the fact that it's stupid.
If for some odd reason you just tuned in and it's live, watch our show. But before you do, go back and watch that. But either way, watch it seriously. Go to American Craft Beer Hall of Fame on Facebook, or you can just go if you're already on the Log Room Guys Facebook page. Just scroll down a little bit, and the link is there. The video's right there. Just watch it and check out all the inductees, and then you'll know what we're talking about. And this is
in case anybody is disinclined for matters of time. It's 36 minutes long.
It's not long. It's not long. It's not a 2-hour, 2.5 hour show with commercial breaks and everything else. It's you get a lot of information packed into those 36 minutes. So
for this generation that doesn't have the attention span, It's only 36 minutes.
You know what we should do, Marty? We should chop it up to 36 1-minute videos and put them all in a row. And so they can just watch 1 minute, scroll, watch 1 minute, scroll, watch 1 minute, scroll, watch 1 minute, scroll.
So TikTok.
Pretty much. Right?
TikTok.
Just make it reels and call it a day, and you're gonna go, right. So and for anybody watching, we're actually just started doing Opus clips too. So starting this week, there'll be Opus clips of shows. There'll be 1 minute clips of our show. Yes.
Really?
Yeah. Mm.
Okay, I'm learning this at the same time you're.
Well, I didn't tell you.
You never told me.
There you go.
Did I sign off on this?
There you go. So there you go. Well, it's just a 30-second to 1 minute clip of something you've already done on video, so you didn't have to sign off on it.
Opus clips. So we've got like this kind of like Puffin Penguin cartoon thing,
No.
doing our show.
No. It's us. It's just reformatted into a.
But you said Opus.
No, that's the name of the company that we're submitting our videos to.
Not the Bloom County character. Okay.
You'll see. Yeah. What's funny is
I miss
anybody that knows what we're talking about knows what I'm talking about, except you don't. That's the.
I have no clue what you're talking about.
There you go. So, no, it's all good. So anyway, this was an amazing show. Any parting words for us on this one, Marty?
I don't know about you guys, but I'm looking forward to inducting the next dozen or so.
Yeah, I am as well.
Whatever the number is.
I am as well.
Absolutely.
And Dave?
I will fever one shard.
That was you?
I'm a ventriloquist now. I can speak without moving my mouth.
That was in his stomach.
If it was, his stomach is going to make a lot of money.
You know, there's it's called Borborygmy. Look it up. It's called Borborygmy. Thank you, George Carlin, for that.
Of course.
He taught us all that. No, really, I'm looking forward to how this all pans out, and the acknowledgement of, like I said earlier, this class is the foundation, and now the acknowledgement of those people who took these stepping stones, launched off of them, and did for craft beer what they did for craft beer, why it's still around today. It's struggling a little right now, sure. It's a dip. We've seen dips before. At the top of the screen, there's 2 dips right there. And when you look back at the oh god, I just forgot the name. 3 beers in and my memory just goes to shit.
I think it has more to do with your age than your
there's that too. But when you look back at the Finkles in that first dip in craft beer, we all turn to the import beer, the stuff from countries. Sure. Thank you to them for that.
I don't think, I knock on wood when I say it, but I don't think we're gonna see that big of a bust.
No, it's not gonna be not as big as it was in the 90s. So but it's important to honor where it all came from.
On the shoulders of giants.
Yep.
Yeah. Your lips to God. Absolutely. That was 100% true.
Yep.
All right. Beautiful. All right. On that note, we will wrap up the show for today. We want to thank everybody for watching. And for those of you just listening to the audio podcast, thank you for listening. Don't forget to visit our website, www.lagerroom.com. That's LAGERROOM.com. And please remember, like us and follow us on all of our social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and of course, our YouTube channel. All of them are at The Lager Room. Remember, we go live with the video podcast on Facebook, YouTube, X, and Twitch every Tuesday night around 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And for those of you who just want to listen to the audio podcast, you can do so on our audio host, Spreaker, as well as iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Odyssey, Audible, Pandora, Amazon, TuneIn, Podcast Addict, Castbox, Deezer, Podchaser, Listen Notes. Pretty much anywhere you can find an audio podcast, you will find the Lager Room Guys.
John had to take a deeper breath that time because we added Pandora.
We added Pandora. We just added Pandora.
So I had to take a deeper breath before that.
Pandora's new, yeah. So. And if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to one or more of those feeds and you will never miss a show. Again, thanks for following along with us. Have a great rest of your week. Have a wonderful weekend. Marty, once again, thank you so much for coming on the show tonight. We appreciate it every time you come on. And thank you so much for starting the American Craft Beer Hall of Fame, because it was long overdue.
Yep.
And 100% thank you so much for it.
Well, thank you very much. And thank you for shining the spotlight on it for a little bit here. Still appreciating my thumbs.
Absolutely.
Oh,
There you
yeah.
go. There you go.
We appreciate your thumbs too.
We appreciate your thumbs too. There you go. Anyway, have a great rest of your week. Have a wonderful weekend. Drink a lot of beer, but drink responsibly. And we will talk to you next week, folks. Take care. Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers.